not as it was before time, as it is right now. How else do we explain this? God as God, existence as existence, doesn't have a past or a future. It has an absolute present. This is how they understand God. That God has an absolute present. And its absolute present is all of this. And this, what we see, observe, feel, it's absolutely God's present, and it is His internal workings of His beautiful thought and mind. So I'm seeing this as it is in God's knowledge. So God understands me through His self and through myself. He understands the chair through itself and through my observation of it, so on and so forth. Can you see that? According to Ibn Arabi, therefore, there is no emanation. There is no emanation. Sadra admits to a distinction between God and the world through emanation. It's like rain descending from the clouds. It's the same rain, but a different rank. Ibn Arabi doesn't understand that at all. He says, no. It is like a beautiful person looking at himself in the mirror. It's nothing but himself. It's something like that. World, therefore, is that polished surface through which God observes His own beautiful self. Yeah? Now, this is the way you understand it. It's an absolute now. Unlike the emanation theory. This is the manifestation theory, which is an absolute now. This brings with itself a lot of problems in terms of, well, what are we doing here? What about good? What about evil? What about demons? What about angels? What about prophets? What about Imam Hussein? What about Yazid? I know that. It brings a lot of these problems, a lot of these theories. But fundamentally, they have managed to resolve the problem that we have had with theological, philosophical arguments with finding a transcendent God, which is another. It resolves that problem. It puts an end to that. Can you see that? So according to Ibn Arabi, God has two aspects or two faces. Tanzih and Tashbih. Tanzih means He is absolved of any similarity. وَلَمْ يَكُلْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. He is transcendent. God as God cannot be touched, cannot be described, cannot be known. Yes? God as Himself in His eternal essence is the darkest of places that can never be known. And yet, wherever you look, you'll find nothing but aspects of God. So He is on the one hand transcendent, and He is on the other hand immanent. So the mechanism is nothing but God, and the end product is nothing but God. Yes? At least it resolves that problem. It brings in many other problems in terms of theodicy and good and evil, so on and so forth. But then maybe that's a different discussion altogether, and maybe we can do that at some other point. Anybody wants to share any thoughts on that? Ibn Arabi flatly denies the whole notion of another in the real sense. He flatly denies the whole notion of causation. And with that, the whole theory of emanation finds no place with Ibn Arabi. It's just manifestation. Yes? And therefore, arrival at unity with Allah has to be reworded. Is that it?
Well, it's just an allow.
Okay. So he doesn't understand real causation, he doesn't understand real another, he doesn't understand any of these things. Yes? For him it is nothing but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is either as eternally itself or either as aspects of the universe. But no aspect can be called God because it's an aspect. Yes? And it in itself. So Mahmud Qaysari, Muhammad ibn Mahmud Dawood al-Qaysari, I don't know what his name was, he states it this way, that existence as existence is necessary existence. So he doesn't talk about God and world. He speaks of existence as existence is necessary existence. So he's saying that the whole existence in its entirety is the necessary, is God. And in its aspect, these are mere manifestations. Yes.
In a sense, manifestation is like basically this relationship. There would be no term or no word that would adequately describe it, would it, between us and God. So what Sadra called emanation and
Is
what
it?
Abdel called manifestation is really more or less the same thing, isn't it?
It is, but then
To a degree.
it is, but then through my studies I saw that no, you can't reconcile the two. Emanation does admit to a real another, whereas manifestation doesn't admit to another. You see, the Neoplatonists talk about emanation. Sadra came with his sort of theory of causation. He actually blended Ibn Arabi into the philosophical system of emanation. But even then, when you study it very, very closely, you will see that no, you will still have a lot of misgivings, that you can't put them together. There is distinction between the two.
The other thing I want to say is that it resolves huge number of issues.
Yeah.
The concepts of Sadra and
Yeah.
Arabic. For example, the three classical arguments, they
Yeah.
do presume
Yeah.
separate entities.
Yeah.
So it does, but there is still the material realm. We still have to make presumptions to reconcile the material realm with the non-material realm,
Yeah.
or the hereafter.
Yeah.
But obviously, does Ibn Arabi offer any thoughts on
Well,
how?
he works greatly on the imaginal realm. The imaginal realm. And if you can therefore say, well, there is a non-material realm. A non-material realm, the very fact that we can imagine things, the very fact that we can dream. Yes? However, what they are bringing about is not a real connection between the imaginal realm and the material realm. Because you have to say, well, how can matter be produced from pure thought? That's one of the sticking points that we have, right? Formalized, sort of actualized matter. This is the problem that Sadra will face in his thought. Because he's talking about emanation. As far as Ibn Arabi is concerned, he will not face this problem. Because for him, coming about of matter is wholly arbitrary. Because coming about shows a process of time lapse, it shows a process of causation. For Ibn Arabi, there is no causation. It is as it is, and as it has always been. It's eternal. It's just the workings are differing inside it. So matter has always been there. End of story for him.
But we know it's not always been there.
Yeah, but in one form or another, it has, doesn't it?
This is both statements, wherever there's existence,
Existence.
wherever there's emanation.
Yeah, well,
That's gonna-
but existence as existence defies even the term wherever, right? Because where-ness is gotten through three-dimensional existence. You see, the quantum theory, when we talk about the subatomic particles, we are talking about matter. And the quantum theory actually gives us wonderful leads. You see, if you're talking about subatomic particles, the theory is that there was an immense intensity in the mass, and it burst forth. The whole of the universe, therefore, is an expression of those very humble particles elaborating themselves. Can you see that? So whatever is now, with this wonderful elaboration, sophistication, design, complexity, is reducible to that little seed that burst and germinated, according to that theory. The whole of the universe that you see now is no more than that little seed sprouting. So it was all there, all the infinite potential was already there in the seed. Because nothing was added to it, nothing came from outside, it was nothing but itself. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim.